Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Yeah. So we're back at it again, coming to you every other week with that witchy goodness. I don't really know what to say here. If you are new, then welcome. This is where everybody's cool here. We're asshole-free space. If you're an asshole, please leave. Thank you very much.
Yep. And if you're one of our 3 listeners,
if you're one of our regular 3 listeners,
thank
welcome
you
back.
for joining us again.
This one's like a little later than normal, but we were tired, so fucking whatever.
Sometimes life
Real
gets
life,
in the way.
Yeah. Sometimes life finds a way.
Yeah, sometimes life finds a way. Ian Malcolm,
Yeah.
bringing you that wisdom.
Sweet wisdom. That Jurassic wisdom. No. Yeah, so if you're listening to us on a podcast thing, don't forget to subscribe. These come out every other week on new topics, as well as leave a little review. It helps the algorithms. Feed those algorithm gods. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like the video, comment below, share, subscribe, and do all that kind of stuff. We are going to be talking about meditation today.
That's right.
So this may be one of those ones that you want to circle back around to later.
Yeah.
As it were. So, on meditation, as it were, what the fuck is meditation?
Well, so first of all, to start off, we're going to be talking about meditation basics today. Because there's a ton of stuff that we can go into about meditation. We're definitely going to do more shows on this. And I see a lot of questions about how to meditate and what's the right way to meditate on Reddit. So for those of you that don't know, I am huge on Reddit, I'm huge into Reddit, that is, but I am a lurker. So I don't often post.
We're not famous on
Reddit.
anything unless you want us to be.
Yeah.
Make us other people's problems.
So I do a lot of lurking on Reddit, and I do a lot of comment replying on Reddit. I don't necessarily do a lot of posting there, and I very often see in the witchcraft and pagan type communities there that people ask how to meditate. They don't understand, and they don't really know why, but they've been told that they need to do it. And we have definitely told people to meditate, so I thought that this would be a really great show to kind of give people an idea of what meditation is and how to make it work for you, because it's so useful in so many ways, but it's also so misunderstood. So we're going to talk about the basics of meditating, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we personally meditate and what we do with that. So first of all, meditation is a technique that you can use to achieve a mentally calm, clear, and focused state. It's practiced in many, but if not most, religious and spiritual traditions, but it doesn't have to be used as a spiritual practice. Meditation,
or necessarily referred to as meditation, by the by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So meditation isn't necessarily just for magic. Meditation is for whatever it is that you want. And everybody, especially in the now apocalypse times, says you gotta meditate, you gotta be mindful, and you gotta do the thing.
Meditation can be used for something as esoteric as a religious practice, or something as mundane as like just health and well-being, and just kind of relaxation. I mean, it can be used for something as mundane as meditating to just kind of like relax after a stressful day, or you can make a big deal of it and add pomp and circumstance and all that kind of stuff and go from there. So both are, viable options.
Exactly. So for those of you that are regular listeners, you know that I love to look into the history of things. And I don't have a whole lot of the history of meditation to share with you today, but I wanted to hit you with a couple of really cool, interesting factoid nuggets that you can share over the virtual water cooler, as it were, the next time y'all are talking about meditation. So the oldest mention of meditation is in the Hindu Vedas, which are on record as being passed down orally, and they have been passed down orally since about 2000 BCE. That is a hugely long time. So people have been meditating for at least 4,000 years. It is believed that the Vedas are the sounds of the rhythm of the universe. Although different sects of Hinduism vary in their positions origins and the relative authority of the Vedas. And we're not really going to get into that, but we probably will talk more about Hinduism and about the Vedas in future episodes. But it is there on paper, as it were, for,
like, first recorded.
Yeah. Now, another interesting piece of the history is I've been reading this book called Liber for 20, and it's about the magical uses of cannabis in history, and it is super interesting, and I'm really enjoying it. The author of this book is not sponsoring us. I've never met this person.
Yeah, we just picked up this book like a while ago. She's reading it. When she's done, I'm going to read it.
And when I'm reading it, there's some very interesting things about the use of cannabis, and that does also kind of tie into meditation, although not directly. But one of the things that he mentions is there was a tradition in the Proto-Indo-Europeans, which lived between 40 and 20,000 years ago, that they made basically little tents to inhale the smoke of the cannabis plant, and then they would go into a trance. And the way that he describes this makes me think very much of using cannabis to aid in meditation and the magical practice. Although he doesn't necessarily make those connections 100%. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but I definitely think that as long as people have been worshiping deities and connecting with ancestors and even using substances to aid in that, I think that we have been meditating. So I think that this is one of those practices, much like the use of eggs in symbolism, that goes back much further than we have record for. So that was pretty cool, and I think that that's pretty interesting. I know I'm going to try to like wedge that stuff into conversations.
Drop in witchy information bombs. Heck yeah,
drop in witchy information bombs. So before we talk about why, like what meditation is and what types of meditation there are and how we meditate, I want to talk first about the health benefits of meditation. And, they're really everywhere. You can, just open up the internet somewhere and be scrolling through your feed, and there will be something for meditation just right there. It's everywhere right now, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Hot right
Very
now.
hot, yeah. Now, first of all, meditation is different from mindfulness, and we are mostly going to be talking about meditation today as opposed to mindfulness. So the benefits of meditation are varied, and they are many, and some of it depends on the person, and there are some medical and scientific studies associated with this, and then there's a lot of other sort of off the record type of things. But
people have been talking about it for 2,000 years. I mean, it's probably
4,000 years.
It's probably no. I mean, like this, like the off the record papers are like, here's a paper from 2,000 years ago that says that it's good for you. I mean, we don't know how they tested that, but it counts.
They did double-blind studies.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? They didn't do double-blind studies, but if it was being suggested to us 2,000 years ago, and if it's being suggested to us now, then we can clearly conclude that, maybe you should be meditating more?
Exactly.
So,
some of the health benefits that are that have been proven by scientific study is that you can benefit by having lower blood pressure, reduced anxiety. Some people report decreased pain, particularly with chronic pain, improved sleep, that it alleviates depression. It helps to improve your focus. It helps with releasing stress and also having people take on less of a cumulative stress load. It also helps with less background brain noise, something that I know is super helpful for me, and a ton of other benefits. I didn't want to be here for, reading the correspondence list of health benefits for 20 minutes. Now, there are some people that have not only a harder time meditating, but there are some people who have negative experiences with meditating. And before we extol the virtues of meditating, I wanted to touch on this briefly because every once in a while it pops up. So in 2019, there was a study published where about 1,200 regular meditators, so people that had been meditating for at least 6 months, reported having unpleasant experiences related to meditation and during their meditation. So these people reported that they had anxiety, fear, distorted thoughts, and a skewed worldview.
Well, this is. I actually remember reading this paper. So they specifically were asked if they had ever experienced a negative thing like after meditation, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that like every time I meditate I feel sad. Like, why would you continue to do that? That's crazy town.
Yeah.
But it's like, have they ever felt this way after the fact? Right?
Yeah.
Or you know, or during or what have you, but like, have you ever had like a negative meditation experience?
Yeah.
Is really the best way to put that.
Now, it's notable that the people who did report that they had had a negative meditation experience were people who self-reported as having PTSD, anxiety disorders, and practiced deconstructive meditation. And that is a meditation where you're really sort of itemizing and picking apart the experience of essentially being alive in that moment. And that's not to say that these things are bad things to do. It is certainly a thing that is there, but just because you are, you hear all these great benefits about meditating, doesn't mean that there is not another side to that, but it also does not mean that if you hear about this and are freaked out that this is going to happen to you.
Yeah, well, like everything, I mean, you can have a bad experience, right? That can happen. But also, like, are you overdoing it? Right? You can overdo it with anything. You overdo it with water. You can overdo it with anything, right? So it's like, are you overdoing it? Are you pushing too hard? Are you doing it in a manner that is stress-inducing? As well as, if you do this and you have a bad experience, like, take a break, analyze that experience. When you go back in, don't just go back in the next day guns blazing. Like, give yourself time, give yourself the time to decompress all that and then approach it more cautiously. It's sort of like if you're used to using a screwdriver to drive screws and now you buy a screw gun, don't get all fucking willy-nilly with that shit. You're going to hurt yourself. Having literally put drill bits into my hands many, many times. Right?
Yes, you do bring up a good point.
It's that thing where it's like, I work with tools all the time. Even a carpenter sometimes hits his thumb with a hammer.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, don't chagrin the hammer for the 1 in a million strikes that hits the thumb.
Yeah.
Kind of a situation
and
here.
there are other sources, and even older sources than this study, that hint that there are some people that have had what you could say is a bad meditation trip.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that these people have them every time.
Yeah.
But it also, I've seen people talk about having bad meditation experiences after doing shadow work. Doing shadow work is like all the rage right now, and we're not going to talk too much about shadow work itself, but shadow work is essentially
that would be a separate podcast.
Yeah, it's in its most base form. It is trying to view, reconcile, and incorporate the items that are your shadow self. That's not necessarily the bad things about you, but are the darker aspects. And if you are a person that tends to focus on the negative side of things, I recommend that you become more familiar with meditation and the practices before you incorporate things like doing shadow work or deconstructive meditation and that sort of thing.
Don't just rush into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna your first time getting behind the wheel of a car and driving, pick up a fucking like F1 McLaren or some shit and join into the race, or are you gonna drive a car responsibly on the road first and then maybe learn how to be a race car driver, right? Like, everything takes steps. If it seems like it's taking a long time, it's not. Don't worry. Just be patient. It works out.
Yeah.
Like, or experiment with something else. As we will learn, there are a fucking infinite number of ways to meditate.
Yes.
Right? So, like, if you're meditating and you're, like, not feeling it or whatever, well, okay, do it a different way or whatever. We don't meditate the same way, like...
Literally at all.
Even
not
fucking
even close.
Remotely.
Yeah.
Right? Who cares? I mean, yeah, I know that sounds kind of bananas, but, like, if your form of meditation is, like, writing the the right on top lawnmower in your backyard and listening to rock and roll music real loud and just kind of like zoning out on a Saturday morning, then fucking do that.
Yeah.
Right? Meditation is you know, about the journey, not the destination, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, again, like, just find your meditation, and you can practice with other meditations, and you can try this and you can try that, and I've been meditating for the better part of my whole life, and there are ways of meditation that confound and just are unattainable to me. I don't understand them. It just doesn't make any sense, and I meditate all the time. Doesn't make any sense. Don't know how people do that.
Yeah.
It's not even a little, you know, and that's totally fine, right? Just do it your way, or do it whatever way feels the best. And if you're doing it a way and you feel like you could be doing it in a different way better, then do it in a different way better, man. Like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to try other things.
Yeah, totally.
So before we get into what types of meditation there are, I want to go over some things that I see that are commonly asked questions from people, just to kind of get some information out there, because there's a lot happening with what the recommendations are for meditation, and because of what the general answers are, or even these questions, it can be a barrier to some people to even want to bother to try to meditate. So, do you have to sit down to meditate, like in lotus pose? No, you do not have to sit down. If you want to sit down in lotus pose, absolutely. You can do it in any posture you want. You can sit, you can stand, you can lie down.
Know what lotus pose is.
It's where you have your legs crossed.
But the feet are on top?
Yes, and you have your hands on your
you can't
on your
can't
thighs.
tell this through sound, but well, you probably can. Let's be real. I'm a fat guy. That shit ain't gonna happen.
I also have difficulty with lotus
stop.
pose.
I'm a fat guy. That shit ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna sit cross-legged. I can't put that foot up on top stuff. Even when I was like rail skinny and like more flexible than I currently am, which is absurd because I'm still hyper flexible. I couldn't do it. It's just like not a thing. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
never been a
I
thing
have
that I could
difficulty
do.
with it as well. So you can do meditation in any posture that you want to. There is no limit there. Just do it in a place where you can be comfortable.
In my mind, it's a guy just like laying face down in the dirt underneath a tree, just like oming out, man.
Yeah.
He's like, this is how I do it. Just breathe in dirt.
So next question: How do I breathe? How fast do I breathe? This is however you want, however you're most comfortable breathing.
Secret time for meditation breathing. You breathe enough to be alive.
Yeah.
If you gotta breathe more, breathe more. If you can breathe less, I guess breathe less. Like, that's on you, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's
it's probably best to not breathe really fast and shallow and hyperventilate.
Yeah, that's not meditating.
Don't do that.
That's hyperventilating.
But
we already
you
have a
don't
word
necessarily
for that.
have to take long, slow, deep breaths, and you don't necessarily have to breathe in through your mouth and out through your nose, or whatever.
Yeah.
Breathe
again,
however
unless
is
those
most
things
comfortable.
help you.
Yeah.
If that helps you, to do whatever the breathing metronome thing is that you're doing, you know, that's entirely dependent. I'm going to be super honest with you. Sometimes I focus on my breathing. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I breathe in rhythm to the music that I'm listening to. Sometimes I definitely don't. And sometimes I don't even think about breathing at all because I'm just meditating, and then like an amount of time will go by or the song will change or something, and I'm just like, oh, I haven't been focusing on my breathing or any of that shit. I've just been kind of sitting here meditating, which is, I guess, the point. So
I think that means that you made it.
Yeah. Figured it out, guys.
So the next question is, do I need to close my eyes? And that answer is no, you really don't. It's not necessary for you to close your eyes, and I
mean, every once in a while you have to. That's called blinking. Again, we already have words for this. Yeah. Don't just let your eyeballs dry out while you're meditating. That's crazy. I think that's very crazy.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing a moving type of meditation, like if you're doing yoga or you're walking or something
Sitting
like
on
that.
a little car at 40 miles an hour, just drying those eyeballs out.
No.
Drying them.
So you don't need to close your eyes, but you can. And if you have a hard time with being fidgety and holding still for that amount of time, I have heard of people anecdotally that say that having their eyes open helps because they can allow their eyes to wander while their mind is staying still. So that's certainly something that you can try to employ there, especially if you're trying to do a focus type of meditation, or you're where you're like looking at a candle flame or something like that, divination even. So what happens if you have an itch or if you're uncomfortable and you need to move?
Okay, well, I don't feel like as an adult speaking to another adult, I need to explain to you that if you're uncomfortable and need to move, please move. Don't be uncomfortable. But don't be uncomfortable. Please move. Our couch is, in a word, lumpy. And so, quite, in fact.
It's the worst couch.
And sometimes, because I meditate at night before I go to bed, sometimes I will be sitting there meditating, and then 20 minutes later, I realize that 100% of my focus is on the, like, raw, white-hot screaming pain in my back, because I've been sitting perfectly still, and my body's just like, sitting isn't really a thing that we're designed to do. You can stand, you can lay. Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
So I have to, like, get up and pace around, or like change the way I'm sitting, or what have you. Like, 100% don't put yourself in a place where you're being uncomfortable. If sitting on the ground on a tiny pillow is not your jam, don't do it.
Yeah. Also, try to be in a position where your limbs aren't going to fall asleep.
Yeah,
I know that there are some
certainly.
times where
Yes.
I've like sat to meditate and I get done and I go to move and my leg is asleep, and it is the worst. It really like takes you out of that calm Zen place that meditation puts you in. So if you have an itch, just scratch that. If you need to move to get more comfortable, just do that. And then either consider that your practice is done, or go back to what you were doing. There's no need to beat yourself up about that.
Yeah.
There are some types of meditation and some people who believe that you should just try to meditate through it, and if you are one of those people, that's totally fine too.
Yeah.
It's however it is that works best for you.
100%.
Much like
dude.
everything else
I'm gonna
we
be
talk
honest
about.
with you. Sometimes I just pace, like, in the other room while I'm meditating, just like back and forth, because I'm a pacer. I like pacing.
Yeah.
And it hurts me to sit, like I literally said earlier.
Yeah.
I am probably gonna recommend that you have like a light on and like regular stuff. I pace in the dark in the kitchen, which is, I can only
It's
imagine,
horrifying.
nightmare fuel if you were to accidentally wake up and just walk past the
Yeah,
kitchen.
I've never actually woken up and had that happen, but like
The idea is quite
the
terrifying.
idea is pretty horrifying.
I go to bed several hours after she does late, not because we don't wake up at the exact same time, but I just don't sleep often.
Yeah, you need less sleep than
I need way less sleep. So sometimes I'll meditate. Most of the time I meditate just sitting on the couch. But if my back is especially bad that day, sometimes it's easier to just like pace and meditate, or stand and meditate.
Yeah.
Although there have definitely been a few times where you've like woken up and I've just been like standing in front of the door. Not the door of the bedroom, that's crazy, but just like the front door, because it's like it's like kind of out of the way.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing there with like my eyes closed because I'm like meditating or
Pretty
something.
nightmare fuel to get up in the middle of the night because you have to pee, and then to find your spouse just like standing, eyes closed, in front of a door while the TV plays Cartoon Network with barely any sound.
Yeah.
It's a horrifying moment.
And I don't hear it often because I have headphones in, because I'm listening to whatever music I'm listening to while I meditate. So then it's just like, hello, 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 and then I'm like, oh, you're right there, and you're like, that's not. Go to fucking bed. That's not okay, man.
I actually.
What is it, a horror movie? Jesus.
Yeah. Now, if you are that person, that's totally fine. But just be mindful of other people in your house.
Warn people. That's what I do. Is I warn people.
Yeah. So. Some people say, like, I have kids or I have pets and they won't leave me alone. There's a lot of ways that you can try to handle that, and really it breaks down to like a couple of things. So like maybe set a time where you typically try to meditate. You can try to have your animals or your children with you to try and do that. I mean, really, you don't need to meditate for like 20 or 30 minutes a day. Even a minute, even 2 minutes does a big makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so you can try having a schedule where you always do it at this point in time in the morning. I actually prefer to meditate in the morning, and I typically do it after yoga. And while I do yoga, all three of our dogs are just kind of like going nuts and like horsing around while I'm just trying to be zen and do yoga. And by the time it comes to corpse pose, they just are basically tired, and they lay down on the floor with me, and they basically just sleep while I do yoga, so they kind of get tired out. Although sometimes they decide that they need loves immediately, and then they come and lick my face while I'm doing yoga. It's very, very startling to be in the middle of meditative practice and all of a sudden you get a big slurp.
Yeah.
You can also try to take a moment while the animals are sleeping, or when or animals or children are sleeping, or when they're having some other sort of quiet time or something else.
It is also not necessary for it to be quiet while you meditate.
Yes.
Right? It certainly helps for some, but it's not necessary. I meditate at night, but that's mostly just because it just works out that there's nothing else for me to do. But you can 100% meditate in the day if there's a bunch of stuff going on. It's mostly about what space you feel comfortable, like, focusing and, like, working meditatively in. If you require, it's just like going to bed. Some people require, like, the lights off and, like, a mask and, like, white noise and noise canceling headphones or a fan or whatever. And some people are just like, it's 2:00 and, like, the TV's on and the kids are screaming, but I'm gonna take a nap. So
yeah, I have a hard time meditating when it's not quiet. When it's not quiet, but it's not so much that when it's not quiet, because I actually don't want it to be quiet. I have ringing in my ears. It's very distracting. So I prefer to have like white noise or ambient noise. But actually I've found that I really, really enjoy having like synthwave on without any lyrics. You can usually find like 40 or 50-minute tracks or even longer tracks that have like the kind of energy that you're looking for. So I really like synth and chill and dark synthwave for my meditation, and it is super helpful for me because if I'm listening to something and I can hear someone talking, it really invades my mind and I can't not focus on it. So it's really kind of whatever you find is working best for you. Which kind of leads me to the next thing, kind of answers the next question, which is, do I need to do a guided meditation? And that answer is no, you don't. But you can if you want to. I have done guided meditations. They are fantastic for what they are. If you're looking for that kind of tutoring, I look at a guided meditation more as tutoring and as like a lesson than an everyday type of solution for me. But if you are the type of person where you prefer that to be your everyday solution, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. And conversely, if you do not want to do guided meditation, you're not into it, you don't like it, you can't find somebody you like, there's a million apps and too many choices, then don't do it. Do something else. Like everything else, do what works best for you.
Yeah. Or did you have a guided meditation that you really liked, and then the app got bought by somebody else, and it changed, and no longer is the thing that you like the thing that you like? Literally, my experience, like 14 fucking times.
That's definitely happened to me as well. Yeah.
I can't. The number of times I've been like, this meditation app's so great. I love this one particular guided meditation or whatever, and then like I go back a week later, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well that's gone, and this is different, and everything's awful. So I'm just gonna research.
How will I survive without my guided meditation?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're back at it. We are still in FAQ.
That's right. So another real common thing that I see that people have difficulty with meditating is if people have ADD or ADHD, it can be difficult to focus for a while, and that's fine. It really is. Much like what we say for a lot of things, meditation is doing what works for you. But if you want to try more of a traditional stance, it's a lot like working a muscle. So start small with what it is that you're trying to do. Even 30 seconds or 1 minute at a time helps. And just like when you're working out, it will get stronger. So once you do 1 minute, eventually you'll be able to do 2 minutes and 3 minutes and so forth. That doesn't mean that today I do 1 and tomorrow I do 2 and the next day I do 3. It's really a pacing that works best for you. So the more often you meditate, it is not only easier to get into that meditative state, but also to be able to meditate for longer. Other things that I have seen that people who have ADD and ADHD have used as like aids for that is doing a moving type of meditation. So meditating while doing some sort of exercise like yoga, or walking in the forest, or even just walking down a sidewalk. You can also meditate while you like color. Sometimes having your eyes open helps, or having an object in your hands to fidget with helps. You don't have to be perfectly still in order to do it. So don't let something like that be your barrier to entry into meditation. And I mean, by all means, experiment and see what works best for you. Maybe sitting still does not work. Maybe the thing that helps you meditate is jumping rope. It's really, or cooking something in the kitchen. Really what you're looking to do when you're meditating is to find and access that flow state. Where you're not thinking about what you're doing and you're just kind of doing it, and you're in the moment and you're in the zone, or you're zoning out. You really want that where you're empty, where your mind is just sort of going through those processes. And it can be difficult because a lot of times when you see advice for meditation, it's close your eyes, clear your mind, and then you have you have thoughts that will intrude. That's just being human and having a brain, right? So a lot of the common advice is to not engage with those thoughts. And if you're like me, I don't know how to not engage with those thoughts. They're there, and I don't understand personally how to let them flow by on a river or let them float on. They're there, and I just have to do something about them because I don't understand what not engaging with a thought feels like, how to do that for me. So if that's not how you meditate and you do have those thoughts, and like me, you're not able to disengage from that, that's okay. You just have to find a way to meditate that works with the way that your brain works. And that is very individual for everyone, although there are some common threads in between what works for some people and what works for others. And just because you find one way to meditate that works for you doesn't mean that you can't find another way. And just because you've tried one way doesn't mean that a different way won't work for you later on. So yeah, give it a shot. So the last thing that I want to talk about before we go into the types of meditation is the why. So why do you need to meditate? And it's really not you have to meditate, but it's more of a recommendation than anything. Really, other than the health benefits, meditation is helpful for your magical practice because it helps you to focus on your intentions, on your outcome, and as a result of that, it helps to make your spells more powerful and more effective. It also helps if you're contacting and communing with deities and entities, if you want to do astral projection, divination, if you want to do lucid dreaming, or like candle gazing or any of those sorts of things, as well as leaving offerings. It really helps in a lot of different areas to be able to access that flow state and find a place where you can be focused on something for that amount of time. And again, it doesn't have to be for a long time. Even short bursts help.
Yeah, well, meditation's like a gateway drug.
It is, though. It is.
Meditation is practically beneficial, right? For like your mental state and stuff like that. And so magically it's beneficial insofar as it can help you improve your mental state. It also can help inform you in the manner in which you think and states of mind to allow you to access higher states of mind or differential states of mind relative to the spell or practice or thing that you're doing. As well as meditation can teach you to focus. It can also teach you to clear your mind. Meditation can also be used in a almost protective healing way if you just did a particularly mentally taxing magical task. then being able to meditate and decompress from it, or if you just did a magical thing, or you're feeling magically drained or magically affected by some sort of an outside force, meditation and the clearing of the mind may allow you to see what is inhibiting you, or to see what is like attacking you, and to cleanse that sort of like negative energy, whether it's in the self or like being directed at you or what have you, simply because of the nature of calming and meditating.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I totally forgot one. I had one more thing, and it's not even on my show notes. But that's, what if I can't visualize?
Then don't.
So I believe
Next
the
subject.
term for that is aphantasia. And it's basically not having the ability to see with your mind's eye. So like if I describe to you, the forest that we live in, it's got very tall redwood trees, and it has a lot of bramble and ivy on the ground, and it's kind of soft, and the light is a filtered green gold. As I'm describing these things, some people have the ability to visualize in a picture form, or at least in a feeling, that what that looks like, to share that vision. And some people don't have that ability to visualize, and for some people they do, but they have to work at it. If you don't have the ability to visualize, that doesn't mean that you cannot meditate. It just means that visualization meditation is either going to be less helpful for you because it is frustrating because you cannot do it, or you have difficulty doing it, or that you find sort of your own hack with visualization meditation. So some people think in words. Like when I think about spelling a word, I can see the word in my mind, but like that, and it's very easy for me to see, and I can sort of pick it apart, or they can think about how to spell it or something like that. You can also think about, if you were trying to do a guided meditation, it wants you to visualize. You can think of how you would feel in that moment, or remember a time when you felt the feeling that the guided meditation or your meditation practice is trying to evoke.
Yeah. I feel like maybe visualize is simply a overly specific, like, easification of the manner in which the task is actually asking you to accomplish what the task is actually asking you to accomplish. Insofar as, like, if I'm asking you to visualize a tree, you can visualize a tree. If you don't want to or can't visualize a tree, you can think of the word tree. You can think of what a tree represents. You can think of what a tree does. The point isn't necessarily seeing a tree. The point would be specifically paying attention to what tree invokes.
Yeah.
Right? Whether that's auditory or visual or emotional or mental, or even if you're focusing on the physical properties of a task, right? Like, that's easily a form of meditation, but something you can do in meditation, is the think of a chain of things that is occurring. Like, think of, like, from the fuel tank to the exhaust pipe of a car. What's the like movement of all of the parts associated with it? Mm-hmm. If that's easier for you to think about, right, the mechanical connections between steps, then you're still accomplishing the same task, which is being very singularly focused. Right?
Yeah.
Which is often what that visualization is doing, unless the visualization is trying to use a visualization to inform a mental state or movement towards a mental state, like crashing waves calming, or leaves falling from a tree, sakura blossoms falling from a cherry tree, that kind of a thing, right? You still don't have to visualize that, because you understand what, by, like, completing the sentence, for lack of better words, you understand what the task is supposed to be. Yeah. Right? So, like, if you asked me to visualize a person's face, I would have difficulty being very specific with that. That's just not, like, a thing that my brain does. But, like, if you ask me to visualize for a purpose, I'm gonna work around that and, do it a little different. Mm-hmm. But it's, my blue and your blue might not be the same blue, but it's all blue because we decided to call it that. Who cares? kind of a situation, right? I mean, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about there. If you don't worry about it. But if you do, you know exactly what fear I'm speaking of, right?
Yeah. So, as we go in to talk about the types of meditation, just keep in mind that while these meditation types have like sort of categories or names, it doesn't mean that you have to do it in a very in one way. It can be done in many ways.
Yeah, you can take from it what you will, and you know, like each type, think of it as information about other ways to meditate and ways to meditate. And if you want to take part of one and part of the other and come together to make your form of meditation, then that's fine. We're not meditation experts. We are two assholes with a camera and a microphone. That's not the same. So, you know, these are the types that we've chosen from an obviously infinite list of ways to meditate, as well as like our descriptions to sort of inform you about these types of meditation, to again help elucidate your own practices in meditation. Obviously not to instruct or like command, because again, we have very different types of meditation, and I would bet money they're not any of the types we're gonna say.
I don't know.
Mostly because we're gonna bring up our own types of meditation later. But yeah.
So as we go through this list, you know that one, if something really sticks out to you and that sounds cool, look into that particular type of meditation practice yourself to see what you can glean out of that. Yeah. But you can also combine different types of meditation, and in looking at this and thinking about how I meditate and what I've heard from different people, a lot of the things that I do and that I know that other people do incorporate several of these types of things. And I have done many of these different types of meditation over time and for different reasons. So you can kind of take from it whatever it is that you want. So think of it like a buffet table. If you want to go to town on that coconut shrimp, honey, get it. But if you also want to leave room so that you can have like those onion rings over there, get that too. And if you really want to dip that coconut shrimp in the onion rings. She did not set this example up properly. No, guys. I did not. If you really want to dip that coconut shrimp,
I was like, "Where are you going here, bro?"
In the gravy that's with the mashed potatoes over there, then go ahead. No one's
your
gonna
own
stop
separate
you.
bowl. Don't dip in the communal pot. That's asshole.
Yeah, don't dip in the communal.
We
pot.
talked about this at the top. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, that is not a nice move. And also, if you're there and that buffet has like a dessert sushi, and that dessert sushi is wrapped in seaweed. What are you doing? Don't eat that.
I don't know where is this fucking going.
Let's
just get to the first type of meditation, because this example has gone quite as sour as my opinion on buffets.
It is.
You're done. That's the finish of that. You're welcome.
It has definitely gone off the rails. It has been forever since I've been to a buffet.
I've never liked buffets, even as a young person. I still don't like buffets. Listen, I don't need to go to eat a bunch of random shit. When I go to a place to eat, I'm going to eat a specific thing because I'm capable of decision making. I want one thing.
But I want all the things.
No, I don't
like buffets. Although
if I want hot wings, I want hot wings. If I want a burger, I want a burger. If I want pizza, I want a pizza. And if I want hot wings and a pizza, guess what? I'm gonna drive to two places. I didn't get fat being lazy about food, motherfuckers.
Buffet is just like a potluck that you have to pay for.
Well, that sounds awful.
No, it's fantastic.
Potluck you have to pay for.
I'm into it. I like potlucks. I like buffets. I like buffets.
Yeah, I'm not a buffet guy. You can't even eat at a buffet. Like, you'd be allergic to everything.
I am allergic
Buffets
to
are like the lowest common denominator of food. Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, that's a reason why we'll probably never be able to go on a cruise ship.
Yeah, that's
because I can't eat anything.
I have to catch our own birds.
Do they let you fish out of the portals, you think?
No. Also, I don't think there's portals. I don't think the window's open. I have no fucking clue.
Oh, they probably don't. It's totally safer that way. Anyways.
I don't know how boats work.
That's a whole nother story. So these are some types of meditation that you can employ. So the first one is mindfulness meditation. And with mindfulness meditation, you are paying attention to your thoughts, to your feelings, and any sensations as they pass through your mind or as you feel them. Don't engage in these thoughts and let them just pass. Observe and note the thoughts that you have for future sort of personal upkeep and work on yourself, and that's mindfulness meditation. In my opinion, I think that's one of the most common types of meditation that's talked about now.
It's quite similar to like stream of consciousness.
One for me to do
Is mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, no, that's...
Yeah, that is the most difficult, because if a thought pops into my head, that thought pops into my head, and then I'm like, oh, but I'm supposed to let this thought pass without engaging in it. And then I'm like, well, how do I let this thought pass without engaging in it?
Well,
because I thought it, so I obviously engaged in it because I created this thought, and then I spend all this time thinking about how the heck I'm not supposed to engage with the thought, and then that just totally breaks everything.
So, small hint. When they say don't engage with the thought, it is not think about not engaging with the thought. It is simply don't engage with the thought. Okay, having a thought.
Where are my overthinkers and my anxiety people at, yo?
Having a thought is different than engaging with a thought. So when you have that thought, just have that shit, man. That shit just happened. And then the next one happens. Where does that thought
go when you're done?
Whatever the hell happens next. Sometimes you're like blue, car, orange, aquaponics, and then sometimes you're just only thinking about aquaponics, dog. You just let it happen. Right? This is sort of like auto writing is one of these ways to do it, or like auto drawing, where you just like have a pen on a paper and you don't pick it up and you just sort of like move the pen around however you want, and you just like sort of like think about whatever you're thinking and pen however you're penning, or write whatever you just want to write. Stream of consciousness writing is a form of that. And you just like let it happen. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about if it looks like a fish or a horse or some shit. Like, don't worry about not worrying about thinking. That's like logically insane, right? That's like, I gotta not do a thing, but I gotta worry about not doing that thing. You know what I'm talking about? And you're like, no, I don't. Just fucking put it down.
Yeah, it's just like just waking up in the middle of the night and when you have to work or your alarm's gonna go off, and you look at the clock to see what time it is, to see how much time you have left to sleep, and then you continually go through that loop where you're like, oh, I have to go to sleep because I only have this much longer to sleep until my alarm goes off, and then you're so busy thinking about how you need to sleep that you never get to sleep.
If I wake up 8 minutes before I want to be getting up, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna go to bed and just risk it. Fucking, we'll see what happens, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I wake up at exactly 2:30, exactly 4:30, and exactly 7:30 every single morning, regardless of what's happening. But that's its own old person thing, I think. I'm just very rapidly turning into an old man.
Yes.
Because I wake up at 4:30 every single night. And it's not because I have to go to the bathroom all the time. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, oh, it's 4:30. Okay, thanks for checking in, I guess. I don't know what I'm doing awake right now. I'm going to go back to sleep, and then I just go right back to sleep. But that happens. It's a thing. It's in my body. I would like to say it's the cuckoo clock that goes off in our house, but that shit doesn't tell time. It just makes noise in our house for fun because I have yet to fix it. So we just have like a non-timekeeping angry clock at our house screaming at us every once in a while. It's weird.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I fucking love it.
It's the best. It's very much a
sometimes it syncs
from,
up, like it'll do its 30-minute mark at like 2:30 in the middle of the day or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, something's happening right now. The crazy clock synced up with real time for a second. You know, and then you go in there and it's like 7:30 on that clock, and you're like,
or it's 1 o'clock, and you're like, oh.
You're like, all right, I understand. Yeah.
So that's more information about our clock and buffets that you needed, and that's mindfulness meditation.
Yeah.
So
meditate on a full mind after that sweet, sweet buffet of knowledge. This is how you do these, by the way. Mark them. Put them on a shirt. What's next?
Spiritual meditation is next. So spiritual meditation is similar to prayer, although could probably be the same thing as prayer, depending on how it is that you personally pray, because everybody's a little bit different there. And it is commonly used in conjunction with incense or scented oils to help to elevate that moment in time for you. Typically, when you're doing spiritual meditation, you are reflecting on your faith and deepening your connection with a deity or spiritual practice, or engaging in prayer, or whether that's something that you made up yourself, or whether that is a prayer that is already specific to your faith, and repeating that over and over again. So spiritual meditation, like that. Again, you don't have to kneel to be doing that. If that helps your practice, then go ahead and do that. But if it doesn't, then just as long as you're comfortable, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, spiritual meditation is functionally like meditation in connection to your particular practice, right? So, like, if you're meditating over your tarot cards before you draw it, that could be considered spiritual meditation.
Yeah.
Insofar as it's a practice of the spirit, whatever word you want to use, in a meditative sense.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. So next is focused meditation, and honestly, this is one of the ones that I am the best at. And focused meditation is concentrating on a specific thing while you meditate, and that can be your breathing, that can be your senses and what you're physically experiencing in that moment. It can be holding prayer beads or like a rosary in your hand, watching a candle flame, gazing out at the ocean, or just sort of the outside, you know, as like the breeze blows and whatever, or anything else that you can focus on whilst you meditate. And the idea behind focused meditation is that concentrating on that thing helps you to achieve the mental flow state of your desire. For me, I know that it's helpful because my mind tends to wander and I tend to get cyclical in my thoughts. So it's a way for me to get back to what it is that I'm doing. And I do a lot of focused meditation, whether it's holding a thing or looking at a thing or thinking about a thing. It's a cornerstone of my personal magical practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like focused meditation is probably the most, like, self-explanatory form of meditation. It's like focus on a thing meditatively.
Yeah.
Right? Like focus on it so much that your brain gets awesome.
Yeah, we'll leave
right?
that there. That's a good one. That's a good mic drop there. So the next one is movement meditation, and movement meditation is essentially moving and doing something while you meditate. That's what those words mean. So
walking back and forth in Latin in a dark corner in an old rocking chair.
You could be sitting in a rocking chair to do movement meditation.
I can't sit in a rocking chair.
That's super creepy.
I was just thinking of the horror movie.
Yes, I know. It can also be yoga or walking or hiking. It can be doing some sort of crafty work like painting or drawing or coloring, even in like a coloring book. You can also swim or whatever it is that you're moving and you're doing. It could be dance. I know a lot of people that are professional dancers, and when they describe how they feel when they get into like the zone with their dancing is exactly what like the flow state of meditation.
It's like running or Tai Chi or like honestly any martial art. You know, especially when you're like kind of practicing the same set like again and again and again and again and again, and you really get into that where you're moving and then you take a step back and you're doing it again, you take a step back and you're doing it again, and you just kind of get in this like sort of cyclical repetitive nature where you're not even thinking about the steps in the set that you're practicing. You're just like doing the martial art. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I've definitely experienced that kind of thing. And, I mean, like, movement meditation...
It's the same way for me when I do yoga. Yeah. And I do a lot of yoga.
Movement meditation is, spinning a street sign in bloody New York or whatever the heck, and helping out lost souls or whatever that like pizza sign hippie or whatever was going on with
from the Pixar movie.
From that Pixar movie, like whatever that guy was doing, do that. That's movement meditation. That guy's got it fucking figured out, man.
Yeah, there is a guy near here, and he gets it.
Yeah,
well, I mean, not near here now. When we lived in our old house.
Yeah, in Santa Rosa.
That was near us, yeah. So movement meditation is a pretty simple one, and it can really incorporate pretty much anything that you like to do where you're not sitting still, and just kind of let that happen. And when you do movement meditation, of course, as we said before, you can combine that with other types of meditation, or you can just focus on the movement that you're doing. Just because you're doing a thing doesn't mean that you're not meditating the right way. Everybody's way is different for them. So next is mantra meditation, and that is repeating a sound or a short phrase to focus and clear the mind. You can make these sounds out loud, or they can be only in your mind.
Could be a wee song.
It could be a wee song. You want really the idea behind using a mantra is you want it to be something simple. And that is not necessarily the case for everybody. Some people do better with a longer mantra that they have to remember and repeat.
Every 45 minutes, I gotta repeat a soliloquy from Romeo and Juliet.
I mean, if you're if your mantra meditation is the monologue from Hamlet, I mean, you do you. That's totally okay. Horatio. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. You can use a sound or a mantra that that you write. You can use one that is out there and that other people have written. You know, it doesn't have to be anything really deep and profound. It can be something as simple as "I feel great today." And you just continue to repeat that. And if you want to try mantra meditation and you don't really know what to say or what to do, or you're not really sure where the energy is, you can always go with Om, which is sort of like the universal basic.
It's like the sound.
It's like the sound, yeah. And really, you can draw it out, or you can say it quietly. You do whatever you want there. But that's really what mantra meditation is. And it can be used to not only to clear and focus the mind and achieve an enlightened state, but it can also be used to help set your intentions with your magical workings. So if you have a spell that you want and you're writing something simple, you can just repeat that over and over again until you feel like, all right, I'm good. And I think that we've talked about doing something similar to that in previous podcasts where we've talked about spells.
Definitely.
But that's definitely a way to use that in your magical practice.
Mantra meditation can be used both practically. It can also be used like in practice. It can also be used for like, I'm awesome or whatever you got to say every day to kind of like help yourself through it, or like, you know, whatever. It's really about like you empowering the thing to empower you, as it were, right? And it can change, right? You know, if you like pick one up and then put it down later or what have you. This isn't necessarily something that I do, but like I know that this is functionally similar to the like good mental health practice, like look in a mirror and point out something that you like about yourself or what have you.
Yeah, like daily affirmations.
Like daily affirmations. That's the word I was looking for, was affirmations. Thank you. So that you can also use this in the form of like daily affirmations to meditate on and improve, like, you know, your mental health and whatnot, which that's good. We should all be mentally healthy.
Yeah. Or we should at least all endeavor towards
it. Yeah. We're
gonna do that. Okay. The next type of meditation is transcendental meditation, and this one's a little different from the other types in that this is a specific type of meditation that was introduced to, I'm going to put in quotations here, the Western world in 1950. And transcendental meditation.
Oh, it's like a very specific type of meditation.
Yeah, it is very specific. And was taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And if I pronounce that wrong, I'm very sorry. If you know how to pronounce it correctly, please correct me. This is essentially the practice of sitting with your eyes closed and repeating a mantra for 20 minutes. It's recommended to do this practice twice a day, and it is often done in conjunction with using a teacher or a guide. You know, it's like a whole
mantra.
They pick the mantra.
Okay.
Or at least help you choose it.
I vaguely know I've heard about transcendental meditation, but like I've never like really looked super deep into it.
Transcendental meditation.
But I don't really do focus like
it became super popular in pop culture in the mid to early 90s. A lot of celebrities got into transcendental meditation. It had like a revival of sorts, and they were like, "Oh, it changed my life." Ellen was like, "I just do this for 20 minutes 2 times a day, and my life has changed." And I'm just like, "Of course your life has changed. You're filthy rich." That's not to say that transcendental meditation is only for the rich, obviously. Yeah. But transcendental meditation, TM, is a very specific type of meditation, and it is not something that I have practiced, but in looking into it briefly, it seems really interesting, the concept behind it, because it is a bit more regimented, and typically people are doing these meditations in a group with others, although self-study and doing it on your own is certainly a thing, but periodically they do get together in a group to do it. There are many places semi-locally to where we live in Northern California that have transcendental meditation centers. So it is something that you can probably find someone in person that does. And of course, because we live in the apocalypse times, you probably may not want to do that in person. You could probably find somebody to do a Zoom call. with. Yeah, so that is transcendental
Teams
meditation.
Google Hangout. I don't know if people use that.
Do people? I don't even know if people still use Google Hangouts.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or whatever that chat app thing is.
WhatsApp?
No. Although WhatsApp is dope. No. Discord. Oh, I had to look that up.
Oh, Discord.
Listen, that's how much of an old person I am. I just had to look up Discord. I forgot what that was called. Also, we have a Discord. If you follow us on Patreon and subscribe to our Witchy Podcast Patreon tier, you get access to our Witchy Discord. That wasn't a commercial segment that I was planning, but it just worked out that way. It just happened that way. So, yeah. On the fly commercials, guys.
Oh, jeez.
I would like to say get used to them, but I'm not going to remember this in like 15 minutes, so that's fine.
So moving on from transcendental meditation is another type of meditation that I have a really hard time with, and that is progressive relaxation, otherwise known as body scan meditation.
This is a very common and simple practice for me. I do this all the time.
So this is often used to relax, whether that is to relax to go to sleep or relax to calm down or just to relax and get into your focus state, by focusing on one body part at a time and releasing tension and then moving to the next body part. It's something that I hear a lot in guided meditation where it's like start at your feet and make sure your feet aren't tense. And I just, I can't figure it out. Sometimes when I do something like this, I'm like, oh, I guess I was like tensing up that muscle in my calf or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, I guess I'll release that. I can never do it in body scan meditation. I can do it when I'm doing yoga and I'm doing like a movement, and you know the prompt on the yoga app is telling you like make sure that you release the tension, you know, like release the power and the tension like in this muscle, and I'm just like, oh man, I've been so super tensing that up. But if I'm just laying there and I'm trying to meditate, and for me laying down is the best way to meditate, I'm just like, I am not tense in my feet. Thank you.
But it's not that they're saying you're tense. First of all, like, way to take that aggressively. That's crazy. But no, it's not release tension. When they say to like tense your, like working up, like from your feet up, right? It's like tense your feet and then relax them, and then tense your calves and relax them. The reason why they're saying it that way is because that is easier than saying relax your feet and then relax your calves.
Yeah.
Because you're not aware of where your tension level is. So for some people, and I can do it both ways. I do it both ways. How you doing? Whatever.
Pay extra for that.
You gotta pay double for that, I think. I don't know. But when you tense them and then relax, you have sort of that like you push you tense it, and then wherever you just fall to is where it's relaxed. And the point is that slowly moving up your body so you can become aware of all of the parts of the body while you're doing it, and like relaxing, holding your face in a weird way because you think that's the way that you're supposed to hold your face while you're meditating or something, or like while you're sitting there meditating and you got your hands in a position or whatever, you're like slowly crushing your neck, tensing your shoulders, right? So like that sort of, that beginning of meditation with that like sort of wave through the body sort of gives you that like awareness of each part before you sort of like kind of dip away from that for a little bit, like leave that shit over there while you go somewhere else for like 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? So that's really that's super crazy. That is like super the easiest thing for me is that I've never heard it called that body scan meditation, although that's like a perfect example. I always just think of it as a wave, but like scan wave, whatever, potato kumquat, it's all the same. But like, I don't know why I chose that fruit thing. But like, yeah, no, it's
the
super,
buffet thing.
It's the buffet thing. It's ruining my mind, guys.
It's ruining you.
It's bad. Yeah, no, I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's
I have a really difficult time with this one. Not as much with the mind. It's not as bad as the time I have with mindfulness meditation.
Those are like the two prime. This is what we're talking about. Those are like two of the common and prime ways in which I meditate.
And I just cannot get it. Whenever there's like mindfulness meditation, I'm just like, I'm just going to meditate until this part of the guided meditation is over, and then I can get to the real stuff. Can we just be done about talking about how tense my thorax is?
No, I don't think that you have one of those, but... I mean, heck, you know what? Lady Demetrice was made mostly of bugs, so what's up?
She was made mostly of bugs.
Next meditation.
All right. Next meditation is called loving kindness meditation. And this type of meditation is definitely not about punching trees. It is where you open your mind and mentally send loving and kind thoughts out to others. And this practice is often done when people are working to work through past traumas in terms of like forgiving someone or a situation and sort of coming to terms with that, or trying to increase positivity and gratitude in their lives. So really what you're doing is you're just sort of like getting relaxed and then just thinking about like how happy you are about this particular person and how much kindness and how much love you're sending them, and you really focus on that warm fuzzy feeling, as it were, and send that out into the universe.
Yeah, definitely. That's, I mean, you know, it's sort of that like think warm fuzzy thoughts, be warm and fuzzy, you know. It's like functionally the warm, fuzzy, lovey equivalent of standing like Superman for 5 minutes and just like feeling a little bit more high energy and motivated. You know, it's that kind of a thing. It's like smile to make yourself happy, because when you're happy, you smile. Yeah. Right? It's that like loop back system within the human brain.
Yeah, it totally is. So, and the last type of meditation that we're going to talk about today is visualization meditation. And this is where you vividly imagine a scene or an image and hold that in your mind and explore through that image, or use that image as intent in like a magical practice. And as we've discussed previously...
RKO's out of fucking everywhere. Just visualizing RKO and the heck out of people.
I mean, I guess you could do that.
Right?
I'm sure Randy Orton does.
Yeah, right? Snuck up right behind him. He wouldn't even know I could RKO that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
So
that's all he's thinking about. Sorry. The moment you said visualize anything, anywhere, I was just like, just RKOs all the time.
All the RKOs.
Yeah, it's my superpower.
Or you could just be like John Cena and you can't see me.
Yeah.
So if you are like us and cannot see John Cena, it may be helpful to try to visualize in other ways, especially as we discussed, if you have difficulty actually visualizing that stuff with your mind's eye. Try different techniques. So I think that the best way to look at how to visualize is if you were to close your eyes and have someone tell you a story or describe to a place, like how I described a forest, or like how he just described RKOs out of everywhere and nowhere. How would you be active about that story that you're being told in your mind? Are you
from the shadows behind a car, right?
Are you physically imagining this car with Randy Orton lurking
just
behind
lurking behind it? He's gonna come get you.
Are you painting a picture in your mind of the trees in the forest, or are you thinking about a time where you were in a forest where you were around trees and how grounding and centering that felt? Or are you thinking about the words that the person is saying in letters, like you're watching someone type on a typewriter?
Are you hearing a voice tell you about, right? You can think of a forest. You can think of somebody telling you about the forest. Like, think of, like, somebody with a dope voice.
Like Morgan Freeman.
Sean Connery telling you about, like, this dope Scottish forest, right? You can focus on just that idea. You can focus on the smell of the forest. Really, with the exception of transcendental meditation, because I don't know enough about that to speak on it. But of the things that we spoke on, they're all the exact same thing. This is one of those times where my favorite thing to say of all time, you can ask Julie, is that everything is the same thing. We gotta relax about this shit. Whatever it is that people aren't relaxing about shit on, they need to relax about that shit because it's all the same thing. Don't be an asshole. Man, let me tell you what, that would solve fucking a lot of our problems. But, like, it's all really... Meditation is as we've gone through describing all these styles and types of meditation, meditation is focus with intent, right? It is the moving relaxation that is attained through intentional focus. Whether that intentional focus is on a task, on a word, on a saying, on a sound, on an action, on an image, on an idol, on an emotion. It's the act of focusing intent that becomes meditative, right? Because you can meditate on the way the forest makes you feel. You can meditate on the forest itself. You can also meditate on the fear you have from the forest because you grew up with a forest behind your house as a kid, and your parents told you scary stories to keep you out of the forest so you didn't get lost, right? So you just kind of grew up with like scary stories about forest. This is like literally a thing I've heard people talk about, right? And it's like you can focus on the way that makes you feel, so that way you're approaching it in like a safe manner. And this gets back to that sort of like shadow work style meditation, or deconstructionist meditation, where you're focusing on how it makes you feel and why it makes you feel and what you heard, and does it make sense that you're afraid of this, and logically this doesn't make any sense for this to be something that you're afraid of. And that sort of deconstructionist meditation was something I did often as a kid when I was really young. Is that like when you have that anxiety about a thing, right? It's like hyper analyzing it, but in a very focused intent, not analyzing it and being afraid or being scared, but like very calmly and patiently and with incredible intent and focus moving through that experience. That is also a form of meditation, right? And so it's that, like I said earlier, it's that idea that intentional focus is empirically meditative.
Yeah.
Right? And so what you're putting it on, or how you're putting it on a thing, that's where you get into types of meditation, where it can be guided. I have used guided meditations, and I enjoy guided meditations, but I'm also like incredibly picky about them, like super asshole picky about them. So I don't do them very often. Like I almost never do guided meditation no more. Right? Yeah. But like, something like for you, like doing body scan meditation, that's just out of the game.
Bro. That's right.
And that's fine. Right?
Don't tell me to relax my calves.
That's totally fine. Whereas like I don't really do like mantra I mean, I guess I kind of do every kind of meditation in a sense, but like I'm not really like mantra-y, and that kind of thing. And so it's sort of that like, the more you meditate, even if it's in different ways and in different forms, and even if it's for small amounts of time, like every time you do it, you get a little bit better at it. And in the long run, that like overall reduces stress, but it also reduces the ability for that stress to affect you in the long run, right? So it gives you that clarity. It also, when you're doing, tarot cards or about ready to draw some runes or are doing art or anything like that, you don't have to like work yourself into a place where you're doing that. It becomes natural to like elevate yourself to that mental state where you're ready to do that practiced thing, simply because you have been practicing that type of focus control through meditation. Yeah. Right? So, and that's where you can see how meditation is both beneficial from like a physiological standpoint as well as beneficial from like a mystical standpoint, or esoteric standpoint.
Totally.
Right.
So, at the beginning of the types of meditation, you said that you didn't think that the type of meditation that you do was in this list.
I do all of these types of meditation, except for the one that is a TM meditation. I don't know about that, transcendental. I kind of like vaguely do all of these. Yes.
Yeah. What's the most common one that you think that you do?
I don't know, man. I just kind of like sit there and zone out. Sit there and zone out meditation's pretty common. Not like just like zoning for the sake of zoning, but like very specifically zoning out and just like sort of like clearing away the mind and then like sitting in a like just non-existent place in my head. Like I want to say it's like sitting in a dark room, not like physically having to sit in a dark room, but like it's sort of like sitting in the infinite expanse. And just like, sometimes you think about stuff and like, sometimes you don't think about stuff and like, sometimes you gotta like move, or sometimes like putting your hands in a particular place matters. It's sort of like consciously being asleep. Not dreaming, but just consciously being asleep. I know that doesn't make any sense. Cause
Like you're going into
opposites.
like hibernation mode.
Not necessarily, because like I can still like hear shit outside. Like if the dog gets up, I'm like, okay, the dog's getting up. What's going on? Like, is there something at the door or whatever the heck? Right? Like it's nothing like that. It's just it's like sitting in the void, right? Like we've all seen The Matrix when Neo was in the white void. Imagine that, except for I don't like bright lights because my eyes hurt all the time. So for me, it's a black void. That's literally the reason. Like it would be too bright if it were a white space for my eyes. That's our house is quite dark normally because I have incredibly sensitive eyes to the light. Everything hurts. So yeah, it's sort of like just putting myself in a black void and then just trying to experience the voidiness of the black void. Sit there and experience infinity, right? It's like staring at the void. I just stare at the void. I mean, I guess that's really the best way to put it now that I've thought about that. I just kind of stare at the void, meditate. Whatever the fuck that is.
That's horrifying.
Is it? I don't know. Everybody talks about the void, but I mean, like, it's a place that you can scream into and nothing comes back. That sounds gangster. Right?
I mean, but like maybe there is something in the void.
And if it screams back, then you just got new information. All new information is good information.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So,
does the void ever scream back like, "Can I have $5?"
No, man, God, I'm poor. No. Mow my lawn? I don't even have a lawn, so that's not even a thing.
The void is like, "Don't do banana sushi. It's gross."
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when I write like short stories and like science fiction and horror, and sometimes I will be meditating and then just like be like, fuck, and then just get up and start writing because I just I just start like all of a sudden I started thinking about a thing and I'm like, this is fucking cool. I should write this down.
Yeah.
And then I just like pace around the house writing for 2 or 3 hours solid because like I just had like a spur of inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, for me, that's the like void screaming back is when I'm just like, oh, I could do this. Or like, I'm like, oh, that's how I would do that to fix that thing in the aquaponics system outside or in the garden or at the chicken coop or some fucking IT problem I've been having on my personal computer or something.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, for me, that's like the void response, you know, is that like clarity to find answers or ideas that you didn't come to through like traditional progressive thought.
Yeah, well, and I think it would be fair to say that when you have that spark of inspiration and you're writing and you're pacing, because most often when I see you writing,
I pace around
you're writing,
ferociously.
You're on your phone and you're pacing ferociously, and it feels from the outside like you're very, very much engaging in a type of meditation.
That's 100% what it is.
It's almost like sleepwalking.
Think of it like visualization meditation, except for exactly backwards. It's sort of like if all of a sudden somebody started playing a movie and you had to write the script for that movie whilst it was playing, right? Yeah. So for me, it's very like, once I get that like, oh, I have this thing to write, and I also have a difficult time sitting down and writing. I don't sit very well to begin with, regardless of the fact that we're sitting this long to talk to you guys. We get up every 30 minutes, so that way I can walk around. But, like, I can't really just sit there and write. That's harder. That's, like, too purposeful.
Yeah.
And that's difficult for me when I write. I don't know why. But a lot of when I write, it's very like this story is happening and I'm just recording the story.
Yeah. As
it's being like told to me. That sounds crazy, I hope. Not, but I feel like it is. Or it does at least. But that's how I write. And it is vaguely meditative insofar as it's singularly the thing I am thinking about. Like, very flow state, like mindfulness style.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you meditate?
Well,
you're like, not like that. That's crazy.
Not like that, you crazy monster person. No, that's not even that crazy how you meditate. So I most often meditate with focus, and most often it's with colors and energy signatures, which is actually a perfect segue into the two spell type things that we're going to do. So we don't actually have spells for you today, but instead of that, we have something better. We have methods of meditation that you can use to kind of use for your own. So the first...
Detailed and explained methods of meditation.
Yeah, so the first one is actually my favorite, and this is what I recommend for literally everyone to try. It's something that I've been doing since before I even really realized I was meditating. So it's something I've been doing for quite a while. So, so to start off, make yourself comfortable and put on some music without lyrics or like ambient sounds or white noise. If that's not feasible or possible for you, or you prefer to have background sound, that's okay too. I am not here to police you with your
I meditate to like a buttload of
sound.
Enya, but also sometimes like Tenacious D. So if your thing is to meditate with like lyrical music, that's totally fine.
It absolutely
I get
is.
it. Like it's for me, it doesn't matter if it does or does not have lyrics. It's like a vibe thing more than like what's happening.
I prefer an artist on YouTube called Astral Throb.
Yeah,
and
they're dope.
Astral Throb has these like themed videos. And I say videos in quotations, where they're like 30 to 50 minutes of like a themed type of synth wave. Sometimes they have sometimes they have words in them and lyrics, and sometimes they don't. And that is like perfect for me. In particular, I really enjoy the one called Dreamland. Although whenever there's a new one, I'm like, I'm gonna try this out, and it gives me lots of like different kinds of energy. And I actually prefer to meditate in the bathtub. Having just like a nice warm bath and relaxing, and having that on, and having the candles lit, and having the incense going. I like the whole thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that. So start by making yourself comfortable, and then do whatever background stuff that you want to have to enhance your practice. So close your eyes and focus on breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. It is not necessarily required that you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, but I found that it makes it easier for this particular type.
Yeah, because we're doing this for every line. Everything is optional. Now we don't have to continue to say that, because we've repeated that I think like 1,200 times this podcast.
As you breathe in through your nose, imagine that there is a white light, and this white light moves, comes from like a mist in front of you, and in through your nose, and it goes up and into your brain, and then sort of circles around the back of your head and goes down your throat and through your chest cavity and into your core, and then it'll go down until it reaches your sacral chakra or your tailbone. And if you want to, you can have it go all the way down to your feet. It's totally up to you. But I prefer to stop there, and then as I breathe out, I imagine that this light is moving back upwards towards my mouth, and as I breathe out, the breath that I'm breathing out is black. So I'm going from white light to black darkness. And once I've done this, once you've done this a few times, a few breaths, and a few breaths can be however long it takes you to feel like you're good to move forward. Now change the color that you're breathing in. Change that to white, or whatever color you associate with the feeling that you want to foster right now. If you're doing some sort of magical work, you can look up any correspondences with colors and work some of that color magic in there. If you're doing chakra work, you can breathe in the color that is associated with the chakra, and continue to kind of go through that. Now, as you're breathing in, you're imagining the color that you need. As you're breathing out, that color changes from black to whatever color that you want to be rid of. Think of that color as waste. So sometimes it's kind of like a gunky greenish brown, or maybe it's black, or maybe it's like just a sickly yellow. It's whatever color your body doesn't need right now, because it's bringing in all of that positive stuff. So continue to breathe in and out like this for as long as you like. And if your mind wanders, don't beat yourself up. Just go back to breathing the colors in, breathing the colors out. And you can do multiple colors in an instance, totally up to you. And you don't necessarily have to name the color. Your color can be kind of like a feeling. So like the color of the sunlight when you're sitting at your favorite park, or it can be the color of a juicy nectarine. You know, it can be like a color that evokes a feeling. So it's not necessarily where
color out of space.
It could also be a color out of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the line from the book, the movie. It's like some sort of color out of space. You know, when they say the name of the movie inside of the movie, it's my favorite part of it.
Oh, it's the best part. We get really excited about
we
that.
always get very excited about it.
Yeah. So when you're done, breathe in and out a few times without focusing on the color before you open your eyes, and then continue to go about your day.
Yeah.
And that is color breathing, my favorite method.
Literally never once done that. It's super crazy, but that's just not a thing that I
so fantastic. Especially if you're doing chakra work, it is the money. Yeah.
I think that's like a very clear indication. It's like you're over here breathing colors and I'm over here sitting in the void. That I feel like that's quite indicative of a bunch of things.
It definitely has some things to say about who we are as people.
Whatever, man.
So this next method works with using an item for focus and with a mantra. So this one is really helpful for if you're trying to absorb energy from something, if you're like meditating with a crystal or something along those lines, or you're trying to do some intention-based spell work. So first, decide on a short mantra to repeat for your meditation, and like we said before, Om is a good one if you can't really decide what you want to do, but you can always write something out that's simple enough for you to be able to repeat that, and it can be anything you want and in any vernacular you want. But in my mind, when I said that, I just thought of someone like meditating, and they're just like, ah.
I mean, you could just scream meditate, right? Like, warn your neighbors, I feel, but like, yeah, I guess do you, man.
That one's gonna live rent free in my head for a little bit. So once you've decided on your mantra, now decide on your focus item. So get an object to hold, and it can be like mala beads or like a crystal. It could be a fidget spinner if you have one of those. It could be a hair tie. Whenever I have a hair tie, I like wrap it around my fingers and unwrap it around my fingers and move it in ways. And it's sort of a fidgety thing that I do. Really anything that you can hold comfortably. And honestly, if you have a pet,
separate your Skittles by color and repeat the mantra. I'm not crazy. This is normal. I'm not crazy. This is normal, because I separate everything by color.
Yes.
And then eat it in descending order of color. That's how you eat Skittles in the most flavorful way.
It's pretty funny when you do it with those multicolored Swedish fish that we have,
yeah.
because I can't stop thinking about Dr. Seuss, because they're red, white, and blue Swedish fish.
It just happens. And then like once every some number of times, whenever I think about it, I just don't do that and just eat them in like handfuls. Doesn't matter what the grouping of colors is, and that makes everybody super weirded out.
That's horrifying. You can't do that with jelly beans or Skittles. It's not okay.
Oh, but listen. Secret form of meditation, I'm interrupting this meditation, secret form of meditation, is you get 2 Skittles or 2 jelly beans. Jelly beans are better because there's more flavors. Get 2 jelly beans. It doesn't matter what they are. Pick them at random, put them in your mouth, and experience flavor. Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes it's literally the worst thing you've ever put in your mouth. But no matter what, every time, it's an adventure in flavor. So, whatever.
Yeah, you handed me a buttered popcorn and a menthol mint one time, and it was awful.
Yeah.
And I like both of those separately, too.
Sometimes it's awful, but sometimes it's fucking rad. So, like, you take the good, you take the bad, and something, there you have the facts of life. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and don't talk to us about those awful Harry Potter, like, 50-50 jelly beans. I'm not into that life.
That's too. Listen, that's not
hateful.
That's not an adventure. That's just waking up and wanting to hate.
That's waking up and choosing hate.
Yeah,
Choosing
exactly.
chaos. So,
It's waking up and choosing chaos.
So choose an object that you can hold comfortably. If you have a pet that is okay with it, you can also, hold your pet and pet your animal.
Yeah.
Or pretty much anything.
Don't pet the bunny too hard there, Lenny.
Yeah. Don't be good to your pets. So have your item that you can hold, and then make yourself comfortable. Put on some background sound, some music without lyrics.
Is one of those dogs getting sick over there?
I think he's fine.
Oh, okay. He's just making weird noises.
Yeah, he's just
fine.
like breathing heavy over there. I thought he was having little puppy nightmares.
Finn, sleep less crazy. Honey, there you go. Thank you.
He's a crazy boy.
Yeah.
He's a crazy boy. Yes.
Finn, lay down on the couch where it's more comfy anyway. Dang.
Yes, that's right. Make yourself comfortable.
Yeah. Why are you laying uncomfortable? Lay extra comfortable.
Go lay down in
Look
a
how
spot that I'm
comfy
going to
you are
kick you out of when we're
Look
done
how
with
comfy
this.
you are now. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so comfy. Yeah, did you drink a little too much water there, honey?
Yeah, I get it. I definitely drank something the wrong way earlier, too.
Okay. He's fine. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine. As he's looking at us just like, why are you talking about me?
Yeah, he's just like, this is not time that I can play with you guys. Why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
And at me. So, make yourself comfortable. Put on some background music. Light some incense. Whatever it is that you want. Have that background moment. Set your space. Make your scene. And then close your eyes and focus on breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And once you are ready, start repeating your mantra slowly or fast. I feel like slowly is probably best here. Each time you repeat your mantra, engage with your object. So you can do that by rotating it, moving your fingers to the next bead. If you are using a hair tie, you can kind of just like fiddle with it. If you're using a fidget spinner, you can spin it. There are some people that I've read that use a piece of wire and they just sort of bend the piece of wire sort of back and forth. There's a lot of different things that you can do here, but engage with your item each time you repeat the mantra. And when you're done, breathe in and out a few times before you open your eyes, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. This is very open to interpretation. This sort of like mantra-based fidgetiness. And honestly, you can even do it without a mantra, and you can just
absolutely
do it fidgety style and just sort of like fidget with a thing or what have you. I like to think of this as a little bit more like short. This is like a shorter style. This is like a 5 minutes. After work and before the gym or whatever the heck. Sort of like a little quick meditation thing to kind of refresh yourself, an amuse-bouche of meditation as you were. But
a little appetizer.
Yeah, a little aperitif of fucking meditation over here or some shit.
That's so fancy.
So fancy. I don't know, but yeah, this is definitely something that I've done before. Is like sort of fidgety type quick meditation. I don't always have the time or wherewithal to like I'm gonna knock out 45 minutes tonight so that way I can meditate for 45 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just like kind of like doing a quick little thing. Like while you're sitting in your chair on break, or like,
yeah, when
you're watering the garden or whatever the heck. So, that's kind of the way that I look at that. But yeah, I like fidget mantra-y sort of meditation like that.
Yeah, exactly. And this could also be done for divination as well, whatever format of divination you're using, whether that's cards or a pendulum or, you're scrying, you can incorporate that into this practice as well. So the next thing that we have is correspondences. Yes. Correspondences.
Yeah.
I have put together a list of things that will help with meditation if you so wish, although you do not need to do any of these things or incorporate any of these. It's there if you want it. So colors that are associated with specifically meditation would be black, any shade of blue, silver, and white. There are also some stones and crystals you can use. You can look at using aquamarine or moldavite. You could use quartz, whether that's clear or another color. You can also use selenite. That's very, very popular. So is tourmaline and turquoise. Of course, if you're working your meditative practice for something specific, you can always adjust these stones to whatever your particular goal is. As for herbs, you can use anise or chamomile, frankincense. You can use like myrrh and sandalwood, sage, really anything that smells nice. And you can also use cannabis to assist in your meditative practices.
Yeah.
As far as
Insofar as it's legal for you to do so.
yes, don't break no laws.
Yeah, don't break laws.
Don't break no laws.
Don't break no laws.
We didn't tell you to do it. We are not complicit in your crimes
Yeah.
of RKOing people out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's mine. You can't have that. So. Yeah.
So for miscellaneous things, there's actually quite a few. So you can use the chakras and their related symbols if you are looking for something that aligns with a chakra. You can use the evil eye or the Hamsa symbol. Mandalas are pretty popular for it. The Om symbol, prayer beads, yin yangs are all great symbols and things to use. And there's even a few deities that you can invoke to assist in your meditation. So, of course, there's Buddha. That's probably the most common one that people would think of. If you are looking for things in a Greek mythology format, there is Hyperion or Pasithea. And if you're looking towards a more Eastern practice, you can look at the 10 Mahavidas, Yidam? No, the 10 Mahavidas? Oh boy, I don't know how to say that word.
I mean, it looks like it says Mahaviedas. But
yeah.
I don't know if that's
or
correct or not.
Yidam and any deity of wisdom or that invokes the spirit that you are trying to get. And again, if I pronounce these wrongs, I am so sorry. I am only one person and I do not know how to pronounce literally everything. So
yeah. Well, and again, right? So if it's a thing, if pink is the color that helps you calm down, then pink is a meditative color for you.
Yes.
You know, these were some of the correspondences, even of this list of correspondences. This was only some. If you want all of the correspondences, our correspondences, as well as both of the spells, although in this case they're meditation methods, and all of like the sort of show notes on everything that we talked about are available in our Book of Shadows, which is available through our Patreon. Join our Horn and Cauldron podcast coven, our little fun podcast tier, and you will get access to the Book of Shadows pages for each one of these podcasts, which has all the stuff that I just said.
Whatever spells or methods we're using, the correspondences.
As well as access to our Discord channel, where we can just like chat about stuff, and like if you have like questions about a thing, or like if a full moon is coming tonight and we want to tell you about it or whatever, we're gonna toss it in there. So yeah, that's you know, if you're looking for more information on that, do that. You can also reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. Go to nerdjive.com/links. They're literally all there. So,
and if you like what we do, definitely consider supporting us on Patreon. It does help us get to a place where we can make more of this in a variety of ways.
Better.
And
higher quality audio.
And more often.
Microphones are expensive.
They really are.
Holy shit.
And also engaging with us on our social media channels. You can find all of the information for that at nerdjive.com. And with that, that's the basics of meditation.
Yeah, that's the basics of meditation. I have been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. I don't know if I remember to say this at the very beginning of the thing. This has been the Horn and Cauldron podcast. Again, if you're listening to us on a podcast network, please please subscribe, leave us a little review, do that kind of thing. If you are listening to us on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video, comment below, share this video, subscribe to this channel.
Please
make
leave your
us
offerings for
other
the
people's
algorithm
stuff.
gods.
Yeah. Leave your offerings for the algorithm gods and click that bloody like button, man. It helps. And leave a little comment down below. We'll get back to you about that stuff. Thanks for listening. It's been awesome, and go practice some meditation, man.
Yeah, and we'll catch you guys next time. And our next podcast is a deep dive on Loki.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Loki right before that show comes out.
That's right.
So you'll get to know the deep dive on this end before we get to watch. What is his name? Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, just kick ass, man. He's so good. I love that character.
And beautiful.
Yeah, he's a beautiful man.
Woo.
But yeah, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Stay magical, folks.
Stay magical.